What happens behind the closed doors of a Masonic lodge? For centuries, this singular question has echoed through the corridors of power and whispered in the quiet corners of society. It is a question that has fueled revolutions, inspired the most intricate conspiracy theories, and driven men to obsession, and in some cases, even to their deaths. They call themselves the world's oldest and largest fraternity, a brotherhood of men, bound together by solemn oaths, secret words, and symbols that stretch back into the mists of time. Their ranks are a testament to their enduring influence, a roll call of the men who have shaped our world. Presidents and prime ministers, kings and titans of industry, philosophers and pioneers. George Washington, the father of a nation, took his oath of office on a Masonic Bible. Benjamin Franklin, the quintessential figure of the Enlightenment, was a Grand Master in Pennsylvania. 14 U.S. presidents were brothers of the craft, including Franklin D. Roosevelt, who led the free world through its darkest hour. Across the ocean, Sir Winston Churchill guided Britain through the war, also a member of the Square and Compasses. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart wove Masonic themes into his immortal music, most famously in the Magic Flute. The list is staggering, a web of influence woven through the very fabric of history. But what is the true purpose of this ancient and powerful order? Are they, as they profess to the outside world, simply a beautiful system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbol? A philanthropic society dedicated to fellowship and charity, focused on a simple mission: to take good men and make them better? Or is that merely a veil, a carefully constructed public facade hiding a deeper, more profound, and perhaps more unsettling truth? Are their elaborate rituals simply symbolic plays, teaching basic lessons of virtue and ethics? Or are they genuine initiations into a hidden stream of knowledge and esoteric power that has been passed down through the ages, allowing its members to shape world events from the shadows? They are not a secret society. That is the first thing they will tell you. They insist, a society with secrets. But it is the very nature of those secrets, guarded by terrifying, blood-curdling oaths, that forms the heart of our story tonight. What knowledge is worth protecting with a promise of a slit throat and a tongue torn out by its roots? What truths are concealed within their allegorical temples? Tonight, we do not stand outside and speculate. We seek entry. We will provide the knock, we will ask for the password, and we will dare to step across the checkered threshold. Together, we will be hoodwinked and led into the symbolic darkness. We will kneel at their sacred altar. We will witness the strange and powerful ceremonies that have bound men together for over 300 years. We will journey from the humbling state of the entered apprentice to the intellectual climb of the fellow craft, and finally, into the allegorical death and rebirth of the Master Mason. It's time to pull back the curtain, to decipher the symbols, and to confront the mysteries that lie inside a Masonic lodge. This is the truth behind their secret rituals. Our journey begins where all Masonic journeys must begin, with a single man, a candidate seeking admission into the light. Imagine him. He stands outside a building that might be grand and imposing, its architecture hinting at ancient secrets. Or perhaps it is deceptively ordinary, hidden in plain sight on a busy street, its true purpose unknown to the thousands who pass by it every day, regardless of its appearance. For the man standing at its door, the building hums with a silent gravity. He feels a potent mixture of anticipation, of honor, and perhaps a tightening knot of apprehension in the pit of his stomach. His journey to this threshold has not been simple. He has been formally proposed by Masons who have vouched for his character. He has submitted to an investigating committee, men he may barely know who have delved into his personal life, his reputation in the community, his motivations for joining. They have asked him pointed questions, searching for any hint of insincerity or ill intent. And then, in his absence, a silent and solemn vote was taken inside that lodge. It is a ritual as old as the fraternity itself, the secret ballot. A small wooden box is passed among the brethren. It contains two types of small spheres: white balls, signifying affirmation, and black balls, signifying rejection. Each member casts his vote, unseen by the others. When the box is opened, the collective judgment is revealed. In most Masonic jurisdictions, the rules are unforgiving. One single black ball is often enough to end a man's quest before it has even begun. He is blackballed, rejected without explanation, and he may never be allowed to petition that lodge again. But our candidate has been found worthy. The ballot was pure. He is about to take his first step not just into a building, but into a new state of being. He is about to cross the veiled threshold. Freemasonry, as we recognize it today, was formally born on a summer's day in 1717, when 4 London lodges gathered at the Goose and Gridiron Alehouse and established the Grand Lodge of England. This was the dawn of what is known as speculative masonry. But its origins, as Masons themselves will tell you, stretch back much further, into the shadowy world of medieval Europe. They claim descent from the guilds of operative stonemasons, the master craftsmen, architects, and engineers who possessed the sacred knowledge of geometry required to build the great cathedrals and castles that still dominate the European landscape. These were not just laborers. They were the technological elite of their time. Their skills in quarrying stone, in designing arches, in raising structures to the heavens, were trade secrets of immense value. To protect their livelihood and maintain their high standards, they developed methods to recognize one another across different work sites and different countries. They used secret words, specific handshakes, and identifying signs to distinguish a true fellow craftsman from an imposter. Their lodges were practical places for instruction, payment, and fellowship. But as the great age of cathedral building waned, these operative lodges began to change. They started admitting men who were not stonemasons by trade. These were gentlemen, scholars, and men of influence, drawn to the guild's mystique, their moral philosophy, and their tradition of brotherhood. These new members were called accepted or speculative masons, for they were not interested in building physical temples of stone, but in contemplating the spiritual and moral lessons hidden within the stonemason's art. Over time, this speculative element came to dominate. The focus shifted entirely from building physical structures to the philosophical project of building the spiritual character of the individual man. The tools of the stonemason were transformed into powerful symbols for a virtuous life. The 24-inch gauge, used to measure a stone, became a symbol for the 24 hours of the day and the importance of dividing one's time wisely. The gavel, used to chip away the rough edges of a stone, became a symbol for divesting one's heart and conscience of the vices of life. And the most famous of all Masonic symbols, the square and compasses, became emblems for squaring one's actions by the square of virtue, and for circumscribing one's desires and keeping passions within due bounds. This is the official history, a beautiful and logical progression from a practical trade to a philosophical fraternity. But from its very inception, this new speculative Freemasonry was defined by something that set it apart from any other club or society: an atmosphere of profound, inviolable secrecy. The rituals they developed were not mere formalities. They were elaborate, allegorical dramas designed to deconstruct and rebuild the candidate, to teach him profound lessons about life, death, and his place in the universe, and to ensure he would never, ever reveal what he learned within the lodge's tiled walls. He would be bound by oaths of a terrifying and blood-chilling severity. It is this demand for absolute fidelity, this wall of silence, that has made Freemasonry an object of both intense fascination and deep suspicion for over 300 years. On one hand, it has been lauded as a cradle of Enlightenment valuesa private space where radical ideas of liberty, equality, and fraternity could be discussed away from the prying eyes of crown and church. It was seen as a force for progress, reason, and religious tolerance. But on the other hand, this same secrecy has been viewed with fear and hostility. It has been accused of being a shadow government, a state within a state, whose members use their secret bonds to advance their own interests, subvert justice, and control the levers of power. Is it a society of friends and brothers, or a clandestine network of influence? Is it a school of moral philosophy, or a shield for conspiracy? The only way to begin to find the answer is to follow the candidate, to see what he sees, to feel what he feels. We must be prepared with him, be blindfolded with him, and approach the door of the lodge. We must undergo the first of 3 ancient ceremonies that form the bedrock of all Freemasonry ritual, known as the Entered Apprentice degree. The time for waiting is over. The door is about to open. The candidate does not simply walk through the lodge doors. One does not enter the world of Freemasonry as one enters a common hall. He must first be prepared. This is a process of ritualistic transformation, designed to strip away the profane world and ready him for the sacred lessons to come. He is led not into the main lodge room, but into an adjacent chamber of preparation. It is here that the deconstruction of his former self begins. First, he is divested of all metallic objects. His watch, his rings, his keys, the coins in his pocket, all are removed. The symbolism is twofold. On one level, it signifies that he brings no worldly wealth into the fraternity. He is to be received based on his inner worth alone, not the contents of his wallet. On a more primal level, it is a guarantee of peace. It ensures he carries no weapon that could disturb the harmony of the lodge or be used to threaten its members. Then, his very attire is altered in a manner that is both bizarre and deeply symbolic, rendering him into a state of liminality. His left trouser leg is rolled up to expose the knee. His right sleeve is raised to the elbow. His shirt is unbuttoned over his chest to expose his left breast. Around his neck is placed a rope noose, which Masons call a cable tow. And most importantly, he is blindfolded. A hoodwink is placed over his eyes, plunging him into total darkness. He is now a walking paradox, a figure of profound vulnerability. He is, in the symbolic language of the craft, neither naked nor clothed, neither barefoot nor shod. The bared knee represents his posture in prayer and humility. The bared arm shows he is a man of action, ready to work. The bared breast signifies that he is a man, not a woman, and more profoundly, that the lessons he is about to receive should be impressed directly upon his heart. The cable tow is a potent symbol of his bond to the fraternity that, in ancient, harsher times, could be fatal to break. He is poor, helpless, and blind. He can see nothing. He knows nothing of what awaits him. He is entirely dependent on the trust of the man who now takes him by the arm to lead him forward. Led by his guide, he is brought to the inner door of the lodge. His guide gives 3 distinct, measured knocks. From within, a voice, sharp and challenging, rings out, "Who comes here?" His guide answers for him, stating the candidate's name and describing him in ritualistic terms as a poor candidate in a state of darkness, who humbly solicits to be admitted to the mysteries and privileges of ancient Freemasonry. The voice from within questions him further. On what does he base this hope of admission? The required answer must be spoken. On the help of God, being freeborn and of good report, a belief in a supreme being a man of free will, and having a sound reputation. These are the non-negotiable pillars of entry. Then comes a moment of sharp, physical reality. The door opens just a crack. A guard from within, the inner guard, presses the sharp point of a compass or a dagger to the candidate's bare chest through his shirt. He is asked a chilling question. Do you feel anything? After the startled candidate affirms that he does, he is issued a stark warning. This pointed instrument is a reminder that a similar fate would await his heart should he ever betray the secrets about to be entrusted to him. It is a moment of pure theatrical intimidation, designed to impress upon him the gravity of what is to come. The doors then swing fully open and he is led inside. He still sees nothing. He hears only the shuffling of feet, the faint rustle of clothing. He is in a room full of silent, unseen men. He is guided in a slow, deliberate circuit around the perimeter of the lodge, a circumambulation that symbolically follows the path of the sun. He is formally presented to the three principal officers of the lodge who sit enthroned in the east, west, and south, representing the master of the lodge and his two wardens. He is questioned again, to ensure he comes of his own free will and accord, untainted by improper solicitations or mercenary motives. He must affirm that his desire is for knowledge and a sincere wish to be of service to his fellow man. Satisfied with his answers, the worshipful master of the lodge commands that the candidate be led to the center of the room, to kneel before the altar. Upon this altar, he is told, rests the volume of the sacred law, typically a Bible, but it can be the Torah, the Quran, or any holy book that the candidate professes as his own. This is the moment of the oath. This is the heart of the ritual, the unbreakable bond. The candidate is made to kneel on his bared left knee. He places his right hand upon the sacred book. In the resonant silence of the lodge, the worshipful master instructs him to repeat the solemn obligation of an entered apprentice. The words are ancient, their cadence hypnotic. He swears before God and the assembled brethren that he will always hele, ever conceal, and never reveal any of the arts, parts, or points of the hidden mysteries of ancient Freemasonry, which are about to be revealed to him. He promises not to write them, print them, carve them, engrave them, or otherwise make them known, nor to allow it to be done by another if he can prevent it. And then comes the penalty, the part of the oath that has fueled centuries of controversy and fear. He binds himself under no less a penalty than that of having his throat cut across, my tongue torn out by its roots, and my body buried in the rough sands of the sea at low water mark, where the tide ebbs and flows twice in 24 hours. Modern Masons will rightly insist that this penalty is purely symbolic. It is a relic of a more brutal age, intended only to represent the horror a man should feel at the mere thought of breaking his sacred word. But for the blindfolded candidate, kneeling in the center of a room of unseen strangers, the words are undeniably real, their historical weight terrifying. Having taken this binding oath, the worshipful master declares that the candidate is still in darkness, and he utters a prayer for light. At his command, and in a single, dramatic, coordinated moment, the hoodwink is ripped from the candidate's eyes. His first sight, as his pupils adjust to the sudden flood of light, is the altar directly before him. And upon the holy book, he sees the two great emblems of the fraternity, the square and the compasses. He is also now aware that he is surrounded by his new brethren, all standing, sometimes with their swords drawn and pointed toward his heart, a final, silent, symbolic reminder of the fidelity they all expect and have all sworn to uphold. He has been brought from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge. He is now taught the practical secrets of the degree, a specific grip or handshake, and a secret word. With these, he can prove himself to be an entered apprentice Mason to any brother, anywhere in the world. He is then led to the northeast corner of the lodge, the traditional place where the foundation stone of a great building is laid. Here, he is told that he, himself, is now that cornerstone, the foundation upon which he must build his own future moral and Masonic edifice. He is presented with his lambskin apron, The badge of a mason, he is told, is more ancient than the golden fleece or Roman eagle, and more honorable. It is a symbol of innocence and the purity of his intentions. It is a badge he will wear at every lodge meeting for the rest of his life. Finally, he is shown the working tools of an entered apprentice, the 24-inch gauge and the common gavel. The gauge represents the 24 hours of the day, which he is taught to divide into 3 equal parts. For service to God and a distressed brother, for his usual vocations, and for refreshment and rest. The gavel, used by operative masons to break off the rough corners of stones, symbolizes the moral necessity of divesting his heart and conscience of all the vices and superfluities of life. He is told that he now symbolically represents a rough ashlar, a raw, imperfect stone, freshly taken from the quarry. Through the teachings of masonry and his own diligent efforts, he must now begin the lifelong work of shaping himself into a perfect ashlar, a smooth, squared stone, fit to be used in the building of that great spiritual temple. His ordeal by darkness is over. He is now and forever a brother, but his journey has only just begun. If the first degree was an ordeal of the heart, a lesson in trust and humility learned in darkness, the second degree is an illumination of the mind. It represents the journey from youth to manhood, from blind faith to enlightened reason. This is the degree of the fellow craft, and its central allegory is an intellectual pilgrimage. The candidate, no longer a poor candidate in a state of darkness, is now a brother. He has proven his fidelity. He is now deemed ready to receive not just moral instruction, but intellectual light. But what knowledge does he seek? And where can it be found? The ritual tells him it lies in the middle chamber of King Solomon's temple, and to reach it, he must ascend a winding staircase. His journey begins at the entrance to the temple porch. Here he stands before 2 immense, hollow pillars of brass. These are not mere architectural embellishments. They are potent symbols that have fascinated esoteric thinkers for centuries. They are named Boaz and Jachin. The pillar on the left is Boaz, which is said to mean in strength. The pillar on the right is Jachin, meaning he will establish. Together, their names form a powerful statement. In strength, he will establish this his house to stand firm forever. They represent stability and establishment, a foundational reminder that any great undertaking, especially an intellectual one, must be built upon a solid and well-supported base. Having contemplated their meaning and proven his right to pass, the candidate is allowed to proceed. He arrives now at the foot of the winding staircase. The staircase itself is a profound metaphor. It is winding, meaning he cannot see his final destination from his starting point. This is an allegory for human life and the pursuit of knowledge. Our path is rarely straight. It is filled with unexpected twists and turns, requiring faith, persistence, and a constant effort to continue the climb, even when the end is not in sight. This ascent is not a simple one. It is taken in a series of symbolic flights, representing a progression of learning. The steps are grouped in numbers of 3, 5, and 7. Each group holds a distinct lesson. The first flight of 3 steps alludes to the 3 principal officers who govern the lodge, but on a deeper philosophical level, they represent the 3 great supports of the Masonic institution itself: wisdom, strength, and beauty. Wisdom to contrive, strength to support, and beauty to adorn all great and important undertakings. Having mastered this foundational concept, he climbs the next flight of 5 steps. Here, the degree pays homage to its operative past while imparting a speculative lesson. The 5 steps represent the 5 classical orders of architecture: Tuscan, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, and Composite. The candidate is given a brief lecture on the history and characteristics of each. But the true lesson is for the speculative mason. These 5 steps also symbolize the 5 human senses: hearing, seeing, feeling, smelling, and tasting. These are the channels through which we receive all our raw data about the physical world, the primary tools for observation and learning. He now arrives at the final and most important flight of 7 steps. These represent the pinnacle of classical education, the 7 liberal arts and sciences: grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. This is the intellectual core of the Fellowcraft degree. Grammar, rhetoric, and logic, the trivium, the tools for ordered thought and clear communication. Arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, the quadrivium, the sciences of number, space, and the cosmos. Of all these, one is held in the highest esteem. It is referred to as for the Mason, geometry is the divine blueprint. It is the cosmic law through which the grand geometer, the great architect of the universe, brought order out of chaos and designed the heavens. It is the source of all harmony, symmetry, and truth in the physical world. To study geometry is to study the mind of God. Having completed this intellectual ascent, the candidate, now rich in symbolic knowledge, arrives at the outer door of the middle chamber. Here, his progress is once again halted. To gain admission, he must give the secret password of a Fellowcraft to the guardian of the door. Once the correct word is given, the door opens. He steps inside. He is told that he has come to this place to receive his wages. After his arduous journey, what is his reward? Is it gold or silver? Is it worldly power? No. The wages of a Fellowcraft are symbolic, but they are infinitely more precious. They are presented to him as corn, wine, and oil. Corn represents nourishment and plenty. It is the symbolic fruit of his labor, a reminder that diligent work brings its own sustenance. Wine represents refreshment and joy. It is a symbol of the gladness of heart that comes from a life well lived and work well done. And oil represents peace and consecration. It is the symbol of the inner tranquility and joy that comes from living in harmony with one's brethren and the divine principles of the universe. By the end of this beautiful and complex ceremony, the candidate has been symbolically transformed. He is no longer the rough ashlar of the first degree, that raw, imperfect stone from the quarry. Through his intellectual labor and the lessons of the staircase, he has been shaped and smoothed into a perfect ashlar, a finished, squared stone, fit to be used in the construction of the symbolic temple. He has been given the intellectual tools to understand the world and his place within it. His mind has been illuminated. He stands as a representation of man in his prime, equipped with knowledge and reason. But there is one final, terrible lesson to be learned. A lesson that reason alone cannot conquer. It is a lesson not of the mind, but of the soul. A lesson that will take him into the valley of the shadow of death itself, in the third and final degree of ancient craft masonry. A degree known simply and sublimely as that of a master mason. We now arrive at the sanctum sanctorum of ancient craft masonry. The third degree, it is the climax of the candidate's journey, an experience of profound, ritualistic drama that has left an indelible mark on every man who has passed through it. This is not a lecture. It is not a test of the intellect. It is an ordeal of the soul. The degree confronts the candidate with the ultimate realities of existence: conspiracy, betrayal, untimely death, and the eternal hope for immortality. The entire degree is built around a single powerful allegory: the legend of Hiram Abiff. This legend is not presented as historical fact. It is a timeless myth, a ritualistic play of the soul. And tonight, the candidate for this sublime degree will not merely watch this play from the audience. He will be thrust onto the stage. He will become its central character. In the allegory that unfolds, he is Hiram Abiff. The legend is set in the final days of the construction of King Solomon's temple. that magnificent structure which is itself the central symbol of a mason's life work. The vast project is overseen by three grand masters: Solomon, the wise king of Israel; Hiram, the powerful king of Tyre who supplied the materials; and the most skillful and accomplished of them all, Hiram Abiff. Hiram Abiff is the master architect, the master craftsman from Tyre. He is the genius behind the construction, the only man on earth who knows the ultimate secret of a master mason, the true, final word. This word is the key to all Masonic knowledge, the symbol of divine truth itself. As the temple nears completion, discontent festers among a group of workmen. 15 fellow crafts, seeing the project ending and their employment coming to a close, become desperate. They fear they will never be given the secrets of a master mason and the higher wages and honors that come with them. They conspire to extort these secrets from Hiram Abiff by any means necessary. Before their plot can be enacted, 12 of the 15 are overcome with remorse and recant. But 3 remain. 3 ruffians, as they are known in the ritual, persist in their villainous plan. They know that Hiram Abiff, a devout man, goes into the unfinished Holy of Holies every day at high noon to offer his prayers and draw his designs upon the trestle board. They lie in wait for him, stationing themselves at the 3 gates of the temple: the south, the west, and the east. As Hiram finishes his devotions and attempts to leave through the south gate, he is blocked by the first ruffian. The ruffian, armed with a heavy plumb rule, boldly demands the secrets of a master mason. Hiram Abiff refuses. He explains calmly that he cannot give the secrets alone. They can only be imparted when the 3 Grand Master Solomon, Hiram of Tyre, and himself are present together. He counsels the ruffian to have patience, and in due time, if found worthy, he would receive them. Enraged by this refusal, the ruffian strikes Hiram a violent blow across the throat with his heavy rule. Wounded and reeling, Hiram stumbles from the south gate to the west gate, seeking another escape. There he is met by the second ruffian. Again the demand is made, and again Hiram, faithful to his sacred obligation, refuses. The second ruffian, armed with a stonemason's level, strikes him a savage blow to the chest. Barely alive, his life's blood draining away, Hiram Abiff staggers to the final gate, the east gate, the gate of light and life. There, the third and most vicious of the ruffians is waiting. For the last time, the demand for the secrets is made. For the last time, Hiram Abiff chooses fidelity over life, integrity over survival. He cannot and will not betray his trust. With a final, murderous blow to the forehead with a heavy-setting maul, the third ruffian fells him dead. The ruffians look upon their horrific work. They have committed the ultimate crime, and they have failed. With the death of Hiram Abiff, the master's word was lost. The very secret they sought to steal is now gone, perhaps forever. Consumed by panic, they carry his body out of the temple and hide it in a shallow grave in the rubbish of the construction site, intending to return at the stroke of midnight to carry the body to a more remote location for a permanent burial. They do so, burying him on a lonely hill west of Mount Moriah. To mark the spot, they pluck a nearby sprig of acacia and place it at the head of the grave. The acacia, an evergreen, is a potent symbol of immortality. Back in the lodge, the candidate for the 3rd degree is now lying on the floor, covered by a sheet, symbolically taking the place of the murdered master. The worshipful master, now playing the part of King Solomon, notes that at high noon the next day, his master architect is missing. He is alarmed. He orders a search. The search party eventually discovers the freshly disturbed earth on the hill, marked by the sprig of acacia. They dig and they uncover the body. The ritual now reaches its solemn climax. The worshipful master, as King Solomon, descends to the grave. He attempts to raise the body from its earthly tomb using the grip of an entered apprentice. But the grip is not strong enough. The skin slips, fails. He then tries the grip of a fellow craft. Too fails. The body cannot be raised. The knowledge of the first 2 degrees is insufficient to conquer death. Finally, the master leans down. He uses the strong grip of a master mason, known as the lion's paw. He clasps the hand of the candidate, and with the help of his brethren, he raises him from the symbolic grave. He raises him on the 5 points of fellowship, foot to foot, knee to knee, breast to breast, hand to back, and mouth to ear. At this moment, the candidate is raised to the sublime degree of a master mason. He has symbolically passed through death. He has enacted betrayal and martyrdom. And through the unbreakable fellowship of his brothers, he has been brought back to a new life. He is then told the conclusion of the allegory. The master's word is truly lost, but a substitute word is given to him, to be used by all masons until future generations shall find the true word. This is perhaps the deepest lesson of all, that the ultimate truth of existence, the divine secret, is lost to man in this mortal life. He must be content with a substitute, and he must never, ever cease the search. The 3rd degree is a lesson in 2 great truths, that there is a noble, immortal part of man that survives the grave, and that fidelity to one's word is a virtue worth dying for. It is a powerful, emotional, and unforgettable piece of ritual theater. But this intense internal world of allegory has, at times, had violent and mysterious repercussions in the world outside the lodge doors. The very oaths that bind masons to secrecy and fidelity have been interpreted in the darkest possible ways, leading to real-world paranoia, political upheaval, and even death. I will always hele, ever conceal, and never reveal. This promise, backed by symbolic penalties of mutilation and death, is the absolute foundation of Masonic secrecy. For the millions of Masons who have sworn it, it is a sacred test of honor. But for the outside world, this wall of silence has often been a source of profound distrust and fear. What knowledge could be so important that it must be guarded by such terrifying oaths? This question has haunted the fraternity for centuries. And at times, the clash between Masonic secrecy and the public's right to know has erupted into open conflict, with devastating consequences. We now turn from the symbolic valley of the shadow of death to the real one. We will examine 2 chilling case studies that reveal what can happen when that secrecy is challenged, or worse, when it is perverted. Our first story takes us to the small, bustling town of Batavia, New York, in the year 1826. It is a story that would tear communities apart, give birth to a national political party, and shake American Freemasonry to its very foundations. The Morgan Affair. William Morgan was a local stonemason and, by all accounts, a disgruntled Freemason. Whether for profit, for revenge after being denied advancement, or from a genuine desire to expose what he saw as a dangerous organization, Morgan made a fateful announcement. He intended to publish a book that would do the unthinkable, expose the entirety of the fraternity's secret rituals, including the grips, the passwords, and the precise wording of the bloody oaths. The local Masons were incensed. To them, this was not freedom of speech. It was the ultimate betrayal, a profane act of perjury. They first tried to prevent the publication through harassment and intimidation. They had Morgan arrested on petty debts. An attempt was made to burn down the printing office of his publisher, David Miller. When those efforts failed, they resorted to more direct, more decisive action. In September of 1826, William Morgan was arrested again on trumped-up charges of petty theft. The following night, a group of Masons, including a local sheriff, went to the jail, paid his debt, and secured his release. But as Morgan stepped out into the night air, he was seized. He was violently forced into a carriage, which thundered away into the darkness. William Morgan was never seen again. The public outcry was immediate and immense. The prevailing theory was as simple as it was horrifying. Morgan had been murdered by his Masonic brethren, who were making good on the bloody penalties described in their own secret rituals. The incident exposed, for many Americans, the terrifying possibility of a secret society that operated above the law, capable of kidnapping and murder to protect its secrets. A series of trials were held, but they were widely seen as a mockery of justice. Key witnesses who were Masons developed sudden cases of amnesia on the stand. Juries, prosecutors, and judges were often members of the fraternity. The few men who were eventually convicted received incredibly light sentences for kidnapping, and no one was ever charged with, let alone convicted of, murder. The Morgan affair ignited a political firestorm. It gave birth to the first-ever third party in American politics, the Anti-Masonic Party, which for a time became a major political force, running candidates on the singular platform of opposing this secret society. Masonic membership plummeted across the country as men resigned in droves. For a time, it seemed the fraternity might collapse under the weight of public suspicion. The ultimate fate of William Morgan remains one of America's great unsolved mysteries, a stark and chilling example of Masonic secrecy clashing violently with the outside world. But if the Morgan affair was a case of provincial violence to protect secrets, our second story is one of secrecy used as a shield for corruption and conspiracy at the highest levels of a modern state. This is the dark and complex tale of Propaganda Due, or P2. Propaganda Due was a Masonic lodge in Italy, chartered by the Grand Orient of Italy. In the 1970s, under the leadership of its manipulative worshipful master, a shadowy financier and fascist sympathizer named Licio Gelli, P2 was transformed. It became a clandestine, ultra-secretive organization, a lodge within a lodge, its membership and criminal activities hidden even from the main body of Italian Freemasonry. When Italian police raided Gelli's villa in Tuscany in 1981, they uncovered a list. It contained the names of nearly 1,000 members. Reading it was like looking at a secret org chart for the entire nation. It included the heads of all three of Italy's intelligence agencies, 44 members of parliament, top military commanders, powerful industrialists, bankers, and prominent journalists. P2 was a shadow government, a state within the state. The subsequent investigation linked the P2 Lodge to a staggering array of Italy's darkest post-war mysteries. It was implicated in the spectacular collapse of the Vatican-affiliated Banco Ambrosiano, a scandal that ended with its president, Roberto Calvi, a man known as God's banker, found hanging from Blackfriars Bridge in London, his pockets stuffed with bricks and cash in a grim, ritualistic display. P2 was tied to right-wing terrorist plots, including the horrific 1980 Bologna railway station bombing that killed 85 innocent people, an attack designed to create chaos and justify an authoritarian crackdown. It was connected to the murder of investigative journalist Carmine Pecorelli, who was reportedly about to publish stories linking P2 to the kidnapping and murder of former Prime Minister Aldo Moro. P2 was a nexus of corruption, blackmail, and political manipulation, all conducted under the protective cover of Masonic secrecy and brotherhood. The Grand Orient of Italy, horrified by the revelations, officially revoked P2's charter and expelled Gelli, declaring it a corrupt and cancerous perversion of true Masonic principles. But the damage was done. The P2 scandal remains the ultimate cautionary tale. It demonstrates how the structure of a secret society, with its sworn oaths and layered loyalties, can be hijacked and twisted into a tool for an immense and terrifying criminal enterprise. From the anti-Masonic hysteria of the 1800s to the sinister machinations of the P2 Lodge, the history of Freemasonry is shadowed by controversy. And it is this very real shadow that has given rise to a world of even grander conspiracy theories, that they are the modern incarnation of the Knights Templar or the Bavarian Illuminati, that they secretly worship Lucifer, and that they are the hidden hand plotting to establish a new world order. While most of these theories can be debunked as fantasy or outright hoaxes, they all stem from the same fundamental, and perhaps legitimate, question that these real historical events force us to ask: what is being hidden behind the veil? So we return to where we started, standing before the veiled threshold, asking the same essential question: what is the truth behind these secret rituals? After walking in the darkness of the apprentice, climbing the winding stair of knowledge, and passing through the symbolic grave of the master, what have we found? Is Freemasonry a noble brotherhood or a sinister conspiracy? If you ask a Mason, he will tell you, with sincerity, that Freemasonry is a beautiful system of morality, veiled in allegory and illustrated by symbol. It is a journey of self-improvement, a unique fraternity whose sole purpose is to take a good man and help him become a better man, better in his family, in his community, and in his relationship with his God. The rituals, they will explain, are not sinister pacts but allegorical plays designed to teach enduring truths about virtue, integrity, fidelity, and our mortality. The secrecy, they argue, serves a vital purpose. It creates a powerful, unbreakable bond between the members. It ensures that the profound lessons of the rituals, which can only be truly understood through personal experience, are not diluted or spoiled for new candidates. And above all, it is a timeless test of a man's honor. If a man can be trusted with the small secrets of the lodge, he can be trusted with the more important confidences of life. This is the noble answer. And for the vast majority of the millions of Masons across the globe, it is undoubtedly the truth. They are men who find fellowship, who perform immense amounts of charity, and who find a framework for a moral life within the tiled floors of their lodges. They are the quiet keepers of a rich and ancient tradition. But that is not the only truth. To accept it as such would be to ignore the dark echoes we've uncovered. The history of William Morgan's disappearance and the sinister machinations of the P2 Lodge reveal a darker potential. They prove that the very tools that make Freemasonry so potent, its intense secrecy, its blood-curdling oaths, its powerful bonds of loyalty, can also make it dangerous. Secrecy can be used to shield not just sacred lessons, but also sinister plots. Oaths of fidelity can be twisted into codes of silence to obstruct justice. A brotherhood dedicated to mutual support can, in the wrong hands, become a corrupt network for mutual advancement and protection. A system designed to make good men better can also provide a perfect structure for bad men to organize. In the end, the truth of Freemasonry may be that it is a perfect reflection of humanity itself. It contains within it the highest aspirations of the human spirit and the darkest potentials of the human heart. Its symbols and allegories point the way toward light, toward the perfect ashlar, the man made better through virtue and self-discipline. But the path to that light is taken through darkness. And as history has shown, some men, when confronted with darkness, lose their way. Perhaps the ultimate secret of Freemasonry is not a word, a grip, or a password. It is not a hidden history of the Knights Templar or a plot for world domination. It may be a far more profound and personal realization. The central legend of the entire system is that the Master's word was lost with the death of the architect. Symbolically, this tells us that the ultimate understanding of life's greatest mysteries, the nature of God, the meaning of our existence, is lost to us in this mortal life. And so, a substitute word is given. We are given something to allow us to continue the work, to keep building, even without final, absolute knowledge. Perhaps the true secret, then, is this: the search itself is the point. The lifelong labor of chipping away at our own imperfections, of seeking more light, of trying to find that which was lost, that is the great work. The truth is not a destination. It is the journey. Thank you for joining us on this journey inside the Masonic Lodge. The world of secret societies is vast and deep, filled with shadows, symbolism, and unanswered questions that continue to fascinate us. If you've been intrigued by this look behind the veil, be sure to subscribe to Driftwood Histories and click the notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the forgotten corners of the past. We want to hear from you. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Do you believe Freemasonry is primarily a force for good, or does its deep-seated secrecy conceal a purpose that the public should be wary of? And what other secret societies or historical mysteries should we investigate next? Until then, keep questioning and keep searching for the truth. You may be surprised where you find it.